Over the course of the past few months, Nintendo has given us little bits and pieces of new Animal Crossing New Horizons info. There are many secrets and hidden details in the new artwork, renders, and screenshots. On the surface, the new information looks amazing, but looking in a little deeper reveals many new things about the game. As always, this analysis will be heavily based on our 2 previous analyses of the game, so if you haven't watched those yet, we recommend you click on the card above. Without any further delay, let's begin. First, let's start with arguably the most significant new thing about the game, the box art. For most games, when the box art is revealed, it's anything but significant. Usually the box art consists of a piece of promotional art that has already been revealed for the game. Since we hadn't received any official artwork of the game to this point though, the box art is special because it is brand new. One of the biggest new things in the artwork is the appearance of a brand new dodo bird character. In our previous analysis, we mentioned that it was very likely that there was an unrevealed dodo bird animal that flew the seaplane that got our villager to the deserted island in the first place. This is clearly that character. Although we don't have a name for the character yet, it is very likely that this character serves the same role as Rover did in Animal Crossing New Leaf. This is probably the first character a player sees in the game, so it would make sense if he asked the player questions, such as their name and their appearance. Moving down, we have our first appearance of Isabelle in Animal Crossing New Horizons. We've known that she would be appearing in the game since E3, but we haven't seen her design for the game. Isabelle appears to be sporting a new pink button-up t-shirt. Looking a little closer also shows us that the shirt Isabelle is wearing has Tom Nook's leaf emblem. This most likely means that Isabelle will have a significantly lesser role in the new title, as already hinted by the developers. To the right of Isabelle is a new beaver character. At first glance, it looks like Chip, but it is clearly a different character. The next question then is this a special villager, or is the beaver a new type of villager? I'm leaning to believe that it is a special villager because of the way the villager is dressed. Yes, villagers can now wear most articles of clothing, but looking at the other villagers on the box art, none are wearing a hat or shoes. Another question that arises is, what will the role of this new special villager be? Will he be a replacement to Chip, or will he serve a new role? Also interesting is the fact that the bobber on the fishing rod of the beaver character has a different design from the others that we have seen in the game up until this point. Across the ocean, we see Harvey the dog making a return from the Welcome Amiibo update in Animal Crossing New Leaf. The fact that he is on another island with a dock across the way is significant. This most likely confirms that we'll be able to visit other islands which contain special villagers like shop owners in the museum. After all, we have seen no sign of any of those things on the player's island. In addition to that, seeing Harvey could possibly hint at amiibo functionality in the game. There is always the possibility that he has a new role though. The box art also shows Tom Nook, the Nooklings, and 5 other villagers with very few notable things about them. Bunny, Rod, and Apollo being shown to be in the game is probably the most significant thing about them. The final thing notable in the box art is the player character's showcase of the customization in the game. The boy wearing a straw hat's teal-like hair color is brand new for the series. In terms of the female character, the round nose is another new addition to the series. Up until this point, all noses in the series were triangular shaped. The fact that the girl character is crafting on a wood stump also confirms that eventually we will be able to craft without using Tom Nook's crafting bench. This brings up the question, is there a difference in the types of things we can craft depending on the crafting bench? After all, we have seen different crafting benches such as the one inside Fuchsia's home and the one outside in the town. Now, let's move on to the new artwork and renders of the game. The first piece of artwork is of a male villager. One new thing about him is that he has a square-shaped nose, which is another new nose shape for the series. The villager is also wearing a drawstring bag, which we have not seen in the game up to this point. The final thing I want to point out about this villager is that he has a shirt tied around his waist below his other t-shirt. It doesn't seem like the 2 shirts are one item, so it most likely means that we will have the option to wear a shirt under another shirt. This doesn't seem too out of the realm of possibility. We have seen villagers wearing shirts under overalls after all. Moving on to the next piece of artwork, we see a brand new haircut for the series with these dreadlocks. Not much else is new about this piece of artwork except the slides the villager is wearing along with the red backpack. The next piece of artwork with the villager fishing has many notable things. First off, this villager has a new turquoise hair color for the series. The player also has a round nose, seen in some of the previous artwork and renders. Like we saw in one of the previous trailers, the villager is wearing a fishing container. It still brings the question, will it expand the player's inventory for fish, or is it solely for aesthetic? The villager's wet shoes are also a new article of clothing new to the series. Finally, this villager wearing tights under his khaki shorts most likely confirms that you are able to wear certain pieces of clothing underneath others. It is very unlikely that the two are one item, so it seems that this is very possible. The next few things of artwork don't have too much new. In terms of the woodcutter villager, the only new significant thing is that he is wearing a wood backpack. Will this increase the player's inventory for wood? Only time will tell. The female villager in the red dress isn't showing anything significant that is new. She also has a round nose. The same can also be said about the female villager with the blue hair. She has a brand new azure hair color and a green purse of some sort that can be seen strapped across her chest. Also, the fact that she has a hibiscus in her hair could also be significant. In previous games, there were hibiscus bushes, but you were unable to pick the flowers. Does this mean that the flowers and bushes can now be picked? Or is this just an accessory bought from a store? Moving on to the girl with the bug net, there are a few new interesting things. The bug net, first off, is a new design which we have never seen before. This is most likely an upgraded form of the flimsy bug net. The fact that it is orange might also hint that the color of tools may now be customizable. A bug container can also be seen hanging on the player. Similar to the fishing container, this may increase the player's storage for bugs. The artwork of the girl with the octagon-shaped glasses and watering can reveals a brand new type of flower for the series. We're not 100% sure what type of flower it is, but they awfully look like hyacinths. The flowering can the girl is holding is a unique design for a watering can, to say the least. The next piece of artwork of the female villager showing off the new renders of the pear and apple doesn't really show anything new besides the new pear render. More on the new fruit renders in a little bit. The final new piece of artwork of player villagers is of a female villager with red overalls. Once again, the only major new thing in this render is that it seems certain articles of clothing can be worn over others, such as these red overalls. We also got 3 new pieces of artwork showing off special villagers. We got our first look at KK Slider in New Horizons. It seems KK is taking a step back from his DJ gig in this game and is going back to his roots. The other 2 pieces are of Tom Nook and the Nooklings. There's nothing new or significant about those renders that we didn't already know. Now, let's move on to the new renders of the trees and fruit. We got brand new renders of the oak tree, cedar tree, and palm tree, which look nearly identical to how they do in the gameplay footage that we've seen. The first type of fruit artwork is the apple, which we've already seen up until this point, but the render really shows how great the assets look in this game. The cherry is probably my favorite type of fruit in the Animal Crossing series, but I'm not really digging the render that we got. Sure, it looks good, but it doesn't have the same amount of detail and shading that the other fruit has. The orange, well, looks like an orange. Not much else to say about that, except that it is definitely an improvement to the new leaf render. The peach may be the best looking new fruit in my opinion. The shading and blending look amazing, and it definitely looks like the most realistic of the 5 fruit. Finally, the new pear artwork looks amazing as well. I honestly wouldn't be disappointed to having any of these fruits on my island. Before we move on to the new screenshots, there is a trio of new group artwork. The first one shows off the crafting mechanic in the game with nothing majorly new in it except that the villager is wearing a toolbox-like item. The same can basically be said about the artwork of the villager pole vaulting with Hamlet in the background. Once again, the villager has a backpack-like item strapped across him, but it's hard to say its purpose. The third piece of artwork of a male villager camping with fuchsia once again shows off almost nothing new. It's cool to see that the apple the villager is holding has a bite taken out of it though. Since we've finally gotten through all the artwork, let's move on to the screenshots. First, let's start with the 6 screenshots released in the beginning of December to promote the game getting a localization in Latin American Spanish. The first one of the male villager fishing doesn't have too much new, but it shows off how great the game looks at all times around the year. During this late fall, early winter scene, you can see that the grass has a brownish green look to it, but the game still looks gorgeous. This villager also has the new square nose and a brand new mouth shape. The next screenshot shows off nearly the exact same scene, just from a different angle. From this angle, it is noticeable that the river is in a different shape than the one that we have continually seen in nearly all promotional material for the game since E3. The screenshot of the villager using Tom Nook's crafting bench has multiple little details. Tom Nook, and Timmy or Tommy, is wearing a jacket and scarf, their attire during the winter months. Compared to previous screenshots, we can also see that the ATM machine has undergone another slight change. There is now the Nook leaf logo along with some words at the orange top part. In case anyone was wondering, the text on screen translates to, "I made a fragile fishing rod." The screenshot of the female villager with the dress may reveal one of the most significant things in this analysis. If you recall, in our previous two analyses, we were trying to figure out what was on the elevated part of land. Well, this screenshot takes place on that elevated part of land. It seems that this elevated plane just contains more of the same land as the part below, just raised up. We can even see another layer to the town behind the girl. Islands in New Horizons are looking like they are going to be huge. We still have no indication on how the player got up there though. It is also noticeable that this villager has a square-shaped nose as well. Hey, Future T-Man 28 here. I just want to quickly point out that we very recently found out how we get to the second layer of the island. In a new Taiwanese ad, stairs are noticeable that connect the lower level to the higher level. We still aren't sure if the stairs are built similarly to bridges or if it is completely different. Anyway, at least that long-lasting mystery is finally solved. Now, back to the scheduled program. Another screenshot of the same scene is next, just from a different angle. Flowers and trees are noticeable on the third layer of the island, nearly confirming it will be possible to get up there. The fact that we can see a line of grass on the back of land indicates to me that this is the very back of the island. This would make sense, since on the map from Treehouse Live, we can see a third elevated part of land toward the very back of the island. In the final screenshot in this set, the female villager has caught a monarch butterfly. The text on screen translates to, "I caught a monarch butterfly, the queen of the region." Moving on to the 5 screenshots released by Nintendo of Europe in late December. The one of the raiding scene has very little new, but it looks beautiful. The bucket next to the player could be significant since we've seen buckets multiple times up until this point in this game, but it could just be a crafted item with no extra purpose. Also noticeable is how close the tent is to the river. In our previous analysis, we mentioned how we saw trees very close to the river. This most likely means that there is little to no boundary on where you can put trees, houses, buildings, etc. The spring scene with the cherry blossoms looks great as well, but also doesn't contain very much new information. The autumn screenshot has multiple things hiding in it. First off, the hairstyle the male villager is wearing is a new one for the series. It's very similar to one that appeared in New Leaf, but it has a more slicked over look to it. Hay bales and piles of leaves can be seen all over the art. Leaves can also be seen flying through the air. This gives the game a real sense of autumn. A bucket can once again be seen by the player with an unknown amount of significance. Vesta the sheep is seen sweeping in the background. Is this a brand new item, or is it just an item villagers can be seen holding to make the game feel more dynamic? Kiki is wearing glasses and reading a book under the tree. Another way the game is feeling more alive than ever. The winter screenshot has very little new besides that the hairstyle the female villager has is a brand new one for the series. A curtain can also be seen in the window of the house in the background, adding a little touch to the game that makes it feel more like a real house. The final thing I want to mention about this screenshot is that the image is off-centered. The player villager is almost always the center of the frame, but not in this shot. It is most likely that this is just for promotional purposes though. The final screenshot shows off the ability to have 8 players in the same town at once when playing online. In the background, we see a stone bridge, and possibly a brick bridge in the background, but it's hard to tell for sure. A curtain is also noticeable in the window of the house in this photo. The villager with a hibiscus in her hair also has a brand new hairstyle for the series. The final thing I want to touch on in this analysis is a few new characters that were revealed via Nintendo Switch stickers in Japan. It is very blurry, but we can clearly make out 3 new special villagers. The first appears to be related to Joan in some way, maybe her granddaughter? She appears to have a basket of turnips on her head, most likely proving that she'll be a replacement to Joan. The second is a red chameleon-like creature holding a bug net. We've already seen a new beaver character who appears to be the replacement to Chip, and this appears to be the replacement to Nat. The final new character is another dodo bird character that seems to be related to the pilot. In fact, the new dodo bird character has the same exact render as the pilot, just without the sunglasses and headset. He is most likely the person you talk to when choosing which town you want to go to, while the pilot flies the plane to your destination. Although not brand new, this artwork also confirms the return of many special villagers. Sahara, Blathers, Celeste, Wisp, the Able Sisters, including a new look for Labelle, Gulliver, and Kix are all seen on the sticker. There are also a handful of brand new villagers never seen before in the artwork, but it's hard to tell anything about them due to the low resolution. In the past few days, Nintendo has also released around 250 new renders of returning villagers in New Horizons. I'm not going to go over them all here because we would be here forever if we did, but the majority of the villagers shown to return up until this point seem to either be villagers that have appeared in nearly every game of the series, are very popular, or made their reintroduction into the series with the welcome amiibo update to Animal Crossing New Leaf. Well, that is everything we could find in all the new artwork, renders, screenshots, and new information that we have received about the game in the past few months. Even though we haven't had a big blowout of information about the game since the September Direct, it still feels like we are learning more about the game every day with the slow trickle of information. It shouldn't be long until a Direct, possibly Animal Crossing specific, because we are now less than 2 months away from the game's release. You can be sure that we'll be covering any new information to come out about the game in the next few months. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing for more on Animal Crossing New Horizons and everything else Nintendo.